output, preview. Okay. Periscope should be good. Let's see. What's the Rockwell site like? 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 Check, check. Okay. All right, just checking our levels here. Yeah, so this is okay. I think that's all I need to do. Okay, so we're live on Facebook. We are live on Periscope. We are live on YouTube. This is Theory Thursday. I'm your host, Alex Bourne, from Rockwell Guitar School in Shoreview, Minnesota. Um, Thank you for joining us. This is our 86th lesson. At this point, we have already covered one book of music theory basics, and now we are in the Berklee College of Music curriculum, which is, let me get this up here. OBS. Scene 2. Minimize that. Okay, here it is. So today we're talking about scales. A scale is just a group of notes that have something in common, whether it be a chord or a pattern of stepwise motion. So here we have a chromatic scale. The chromatic scale is just built in half steps. So you can see it starts on F, F sharp, G, G sharp, so on and so forth, up and down. Okay. So that's a chromatic scale, pretty easy to remember. Here we have just a regular old C major scale. It uses all natural notes in an octave from C to C. Okay. Now, what they don't say to do here, but you should notice, is try to realize the musical space between each note. So, for example, here, C to D, we have a major second. Here we have another major second, and then we have a minor second right here. So if you analyze the intervals between each note in each of these notes, then that pattern of whole steps and half steps is what will give you a scale. So in this case, this is a C major scale, and a major scale is built in the pattern of whole steps and half steps, or major seconds and minor seconds. In the pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So 2 wholes and a half, and then 3 wholes and a half. The same notes can be used to begin at and end at different points in the order of notes. So here is kind of what they're talking about. They're getting into modes, okay? So now we're just basically filling in all the notes that occur naturally between in an octave between two notes like D to D or E to E. And if you notice the pattern of whole steps and half steps, then you can get the formula for like a Dorian scale or a Phrygian scale or a Lydian scale or Mixolydian or Aeolian or Locrian. So all these scales are just basically the C major scale starting on a different note, okay? But they yield different whole steps and half steps. So that's how we get our modes, okay? All of the above are scales, but they're not the same kind of scale. The characteristics of the C major scale above are the half steps from the 3rd to 4th degrees and from the 7th to the 1st degrees. Okay, so they like to point out the half steps between the 3rd and the 4th degree and the 7th and the 1st degree. The distance between the other notes is a whole step. In other scales shown above, the half steps from E to F and B to C occur in different parts of each respective scale. This creates a collection of relative or related scales known as modes. The modes shown above are all relative to the C major scale. This means that each mode starts and ends on a different note of the C major scale. All true, okay? Sometimes they have really, really good things to say in these in the texts here. Actually, a lot of times they do. So it's in your best interest to read those things. So here again is the major scale. Hey, thanks to everybody on Periscope who's giving me hearts. I just want to give you guys a shout out. So thanks a lot. Here's the C major scale. If this stepwise pattern of whole steps and half steps is applied starting on G, the result is a G major scale. Okay, so now remember our major scale formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And if we start on G and plug in that formula, we get a G major scale. All right, so let's just check this. G to A, that's a whole step. A to B, that's a whole step. B to C, half step. Whole, 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 half. Okay? All major scales utilize the same stepwise pattern. True. Okay? So what they really want you to notice is the half steps between notes in the scale. So in the Ionian scale, we have half steps between the 3rd and 4th degree and the 7th and the 1st. In the Dorian scale, so here's the name, here where the half steps are, here's the notated scale, okay, with the little half steps pointed out. So half steps between 2 to 3 and 6 to 7. That's characteristic of the Dorian scale. Phrygian scale, half steps between the 1st and the 2nd degree, and also the 5th and the 6th degree. Okay. Lydian scale, we have half steps between 4 and 5 and 7 and 1. So it's like a major scale with a half step between degrees 4 and 5. What else? Mixolydian, half steps between 3 and 4 and 6 and 7. Okay, so you get the idea, okay? Those are the half steps. Scales may also be described by comparing them to the parallel major or minor scale. Thus, Dorian mode may be described as a minor scale with the 6th degree raised. Okay? So if you remember back from our previous theory book, remember that every major scale has a relative minor scale. If you start at the root and go back 1, 2 degrees, then you have the root of the relative minor scale. And That pattern of whole steps and half steps is the natural minor scale. So here, the Dorian mode, what they're trying to demonstrate here, is basically like a natural minor scale, except it has a natural 6. Okay, everything else is just like the natural minor scale. So this way of memorizing things and learning things is a really good strategy all the way through this harmony curriculum. Actually, for any musical instrument, just period. And basically, the strategy is to relate it to what you know and memorize the differences. Okay, like we did here. Let's look at this one. So the Phrygian mode is just like the natural minor scale with the 2nd degree lowered. Okay, everything else is the same. Flat 6, flat 7, but it has a flatted 2nd and also a flatted 3rd. Lydian mode may be described as a major scale with the 4th degree raised. So this is basically a C major scale with an F sharp. Okay, so that's the raised 4th degree. Mixolydian mode may be described as a major scale with the 7th degree lowered. Okay, that is true. It is just like a major scale, but it has a flat 7. Aeolian mode, also known as the minor scale, has a flat 3, a flat 6, and a flat 7. Okay, and as you know, the relative major is 2 notes up from the root. So here's the root, 1, 2. The relative major is E flat major, C minor, E flat major. Okay, a little bit of review. Locrian mode may describe, sorry, I can't read. Locrian mode may be described as a major scale with the 2nd and 5th degrees lowered. There's a lot of flats in this one. So flatted 2nd, flatted 3rd, flatted 5th, 6th, and 7th. All right, so those are the modes. Just memorize what is changing. The minor scale is also known as natural minor or pure minor. That's just because, I mean, you can find it in the major scale. It occurs naturally in the major scale. And it's no more natural than any of the other modes, but I think it's called natural minor to differentiate it from the harmonic minor scale, which we'll talk about later. Oh, right here. The harmonic minor scale may be described as a minor scale with a 7th degree raised. Okay, so if you remember correctly, natural minor scale has a flat 3rd, a flat 6th, and a flat 7th. If we raise that 7th degree to a natural 7, so it's a half step away from the root, we get harmonic minor. Melodic minor scale may be described as a minor scale with the 6th and 7th degrees raised in its ascending form. In its descending form, the melodic minor scale reverts to pure minor. So melodic minor is always a little weird because the classical version of it, there are 2 forms, and it's different going up than it is going down. I know that sounds kind of weird, but the reason for that is because it's easier for vocalists to sing the scale in this fashion, going up with the raised 6th and 7th degrees, and going down with the lowered 6th and 7th degrees. So it was just kind of, made that way as a necessity for singers. And usually in the jazz form, that's why you'll see like jazz melodic minor or real melodic minor, those kinds of terms associated with melodic minor. And those are going to be, it's basically like a major scale with a flatted 3rd. Okay, so it's like the ascending form right here. The major pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale. It contains scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 from the major scale and does not contain any half steps. No half steps in this one. Okay, so that concludes our text part of this. Let's take a look at the homework. See if I can find it. It's 22, 9 and 10. Look for 9 and 10. Get closer. Shoot. 8. There it is. Okay. Complete the following chart of major and minor scales. Indicate the half steps. Do not use enharmonic spelling. Do not mix sharps with flats. Number of sharps or flats necessary for related major and minor. Okay, so here begins your exhaustive scale homework. Okay, I'm not going to do all of this with you, but I will show you how it works. Basically, you have a couple columns here. Here is the number of sharps. So, number of sharps. So we're starting with 0, 1 sharp. This will be 2 sharps, and 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5, 6, 6. Yep, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to do flats too. Okay. So you got all the flats there, all the flats, all the sharps, all 12 keys. A very common approach to Berkeley assignments. Okay, so here, over here, you need to notate the major scale that has 1 sharp, for example, and then do the same scale in the bass clef. All right, and then write out the related minor scale over here. Okay, watch your clefs, and then do the same minor scale in the bass clef. All right. Now, occasionally you will get, so this is pretty common with the Berkeley stuff. You have these like little tables of assignment tables, and they will give you like a piece of, they will give you information in one table, and you have to fill out the rest. For example, here's B minor. So we know that B minor, the relative major is D major, okay, which has 2 sharps, right? So from this information, you can kind of fill in the rest of the information. Here you have information in the second column. So A major, you know, that has 3 sharps, right? And then F sharp minor is the relative minor, okay? So you got to do that for all these, notate them. Trust me, it gets easier as you do them more. So you just got to do it. All right, identify the following modes. So my strategy here would be to see where your half steps are, okay? So you got to figure out the intervals in between each note, figure out where the half steps are, and obviously the root is going to be the first note. It's not always going to be a Dorian scale, it won't always be, it could be a Phrygian or Locrian or harmonic minor or any of the ones that they talked about in there. So yeah, that is our homework. Have fun with that. Yeah, once again, this is from the Berklee College of Music curriculum. If you just Google like Berklee Harmony PDF, you can find it. So yeah, I encourage you to check it out, print it out, do the homework, and had fun with it. It's a really good music theory curriculum, and you're going to be uh, well equipped if you finish it to play jazz, to understand jazz, to um, improvise and analyze and compose and all that stuff. So, all right, guys, I'm getting tired. I'm going to head out. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.